Renovating old property in the country can be a dream come true, or a living nightmare.
When you don't agree on things, World War III breaks out.
We've got two in the greenhouse. I thought that's what you were referring to. Let go of it.
How do you turn a derelict barn or farm into your perfect home?
You need to have passion and drive and enthusiasm.
How do you deal with the highs and lows of relocating?
I just want you to play with me.
How do you build a new life in the country? Over the past 4 years, Build a New Life in the Country has followed 26 families as they've transformed old properties into dream homes. Tonight, we're asking 5 of them who've converted barns and farms to share their experiences.
A barn, I think, is the most perfect conversion every time.
We also hear from experts on how to convert agricultural buildings.
You ignore planning departments at your peril.
And if you're tempted to build a new life in the country yourself, we'll show you rural properties on the market now, either to renovate or already converted into beautiful homes. The first challenge for building a new life is finding the right property.
That pink thing is called a buoy. Yeah.
Steve and Lorraine Kinsey from Stoke spent years visiting rural Norfolk in search of a dream home. They'd almost given up when they saw a derelict barn in an estate agent's window.
It was like, there's your dream. This is it. I can't tell you how excited I felt when we pulled up. I got butterflies. I wanted to pee my pants, actually. And you were like, calm down, calm down. I said, Steve, this is it. This is the one.
They bought this Grade 2 listed barn 2 years ago for £150,000 with plans to convert it into their perfect home. Architect George Clark followed their progress.
That is fantastic, isn't it? It's like a banqueting hall, isn't it?
Just goes
It
on
could be,
forever.
couldn't it?
Yes,
Enormous. This is going to be some house.
We
Isn't
hope.
it?
We hope.
The best way to find barns and farms to renovate is to go to the local area, speak to the local people, especially farmers, put adverts out, say in the local press, speak to the local council, find out who's developing, find out what the local plan is for the area, and also use the internet.
Like the Kinseys, Dave and Rebecca Palfrey also struggled to find a barn, especially as they only had £100,000 to spend.
We kept going to estate agents and they were just laughing at us really, we didn't have enough, you know. So it was quite awkward, wasn't it?
So they hit the road, determined to find something themselves.
We were driving around the area, weren't we, just looking at properties really, trying to see what the area was like, you know, where the schools were. We got lost actually, came for a tiny little road up here, saw this place and it was for sale. So just, brilliant really, isn't it?
They contacted the owners directly and in 2004 secured a purchase for just £108,000.
The best way to get the best deal financially for your purchase is to do a business plan, get all your costings together, go and see your bank and get a decision in principle, and that way you can go out into the marketplace as a cash buyer.
If, like our families, you want to find barns and farms to renovate, visit the area you're interested in, talk to local farmers, put adverts in local papers and visit property auctions. If you spot a building but don't know who owns it, the Land Registry Office may be able to tell you. To save you the hard work house hunting, we've found you some great properties. First up, this derelict barn in Norfolk is on the market for £185,000. It's got 3 acres of land and is close to fantastic beaches and the Broads. Or if you're willing to pay a premium to get somebody else to do all the building work for you, this magnificent barn is on the market in Oxfordshire for £2.75 million. The owners have created height internally by exposing the original structure, and the old barn doors have been transformed into floor-to-ceiling windows, filling the property with natural light. Coming up, how to manage the money for your build.
Go somewhere else.
And tips on working with your nearest and dearest.
Let go of it!
Well, I can't bear this.
Tonight, we're showing you how to build a new life in the country, converting farms and barns into your dream home, using advice from experts on how to avoid the pitfalls. And asking families who've completed a renovation to share their experiences.
It was like, there's your dream. This is it.
To convert an agricultural building, you need the OK from a number of planning authorities. Steve and Lorraine's designs to divide their Grade 2 listed barn into an 8-room family home were rejected by local conservation officers.
I was really looking forward to it. Coming down here, starting a new life, and then you get hit with either one thing or another.
A barn is a very difficult building to convert, and you need to be aware that whatever you do, you're unlikely to be able to chop it into lots of little pieces. Most planning departments will want you to have as much of that barn open as possible to expose the structure, and let's face it, that's why you wanted it in the first place.
They laughed at us, completely laughed at us at planning and said, you've got to be joking, you'll never get this passed. They have the power to close down your build immediately, you know, so that is your biggest issue, it's closing your build down.
Lorraine hired an architect with expertise in barn conversions to draw up new plans.
Because this gable doesn't sit terribly comfortably. If we can do something to more clearly define that, then I think you have a chance.
Fingers crossed.
This time the rooms would have walls partially made of glass, so you could see from one end of the barn to the other.
You need a specialist architect. When you think how many thousands you're spending on a place like this, it's worth that extra few thousand for a decent architect.
Yes! Super. Get cracked in now, can't we?
Yeah. If you can do a nice open scheme that takes advantage of the timbers that are in that building, that's the one that you're likely to get consent for.
Today, Steve and Lorraine's renovation preserves the character of their 18th century barn.
What they wanted to see was just the full continuation of the barn from one end to the other and the continuation of the roof.
So they wanted all that area there, glass, and he did compromise by saying, OK, you know, you can make that solid, but he still wanted this area to be glass. Which we're glad, aren't we? Because we think it looks lovely.
He's right.
And he was right.
We're really, really happy with the glass that goes all the way on up to the top there. I think it just exposes the roof in such a magical way.
You ignore planning departments at your peril. It's an offence. It's against the law to build without your consents in place. Don't do it, otherwise they can ask you to take it all down and at your cost put it all back.
If you want to turn your barn into a business, building regulations get even tighter. Something Adrian and Denise Nuttall discovered when in 2006 they set up a chili farm and Mexican restaurant in Suffolk.
I think the planning and building control and all these people in their little offices, they can break people. I mean, OK, it's not them personally, it's the rules and regulations that they have to follow.
I think it takes a special type of person to be a planning officer and a building control officer.
Part way through converting their barn into a restaurant, building control officers told them the staircase they'd ordered was too steep for customers to use.
The staircase that they've said that I must have is going to take 4 to 6 weeks to be specially made, and it's going to cost 10 times the price. It's going to be about £3,500. So the budget is just astronomically blown out. I think this is just going to be the final straw. I don't know, I'm just close to packing everything in at the moment. I just think, well, what's the point? I think my top tip for planning is to pray to God that you know someone or someone of your family works there, because otherwise, you know, you're going to have an uphill struggle. And I think you've got to...
No, that's not fair. I think the best advice
you've got to
I would
engage
give,
them.
Yeah, just pick up the phone, speak to someone, say, please, can I have a meeting with you? Take your plans along, tell them what you're trying to do, and just have a discussion with them.
So if you want to get started on renovating an agricultural property, hire an architect with expertise in your building and get your plans checked by all relevant authorities, including planning services, building control and conservation. Once you've found your dream property and you've got permission to renovate it, you're ready for the build. The first renovation rule is scheduling the correct order of works, starting with the exterior of the property.
You want to get the building wind and watertight as quickly as possible, keeping all the elements out, wind, rain, and if you've got people working on the roof, then any vibrations could put all the interior at risk.
Something Chris and Rebecca Palmer found out the hard way when they moved to Ireland 3 years ago.
There has been heartache, but it's been worth it.
What heartache has there been?
The roof, for example.
You and your bloody roof. Are you ever going to get over this roof?
When architect George Clark visited the build, he quickly saw the problem.
So you haven't had the roof done yet?
No.
No. We've been struggling getting a
They're
roof.
scarce out here, roofers.
Why?
As soon as I told them where it was, it's too remote, don't want to know. Weren't interested.
The big worry is when you restore any old building, the first thing that you want to tackle is the roof, isn't it? You want to be wind and watertight and get the roof sorted out.
Yes. Well, we tried.
If we'd have waited to have that done first, we'd have still been stood here like it was 3 months ago. The biggest issue with this house was the roof. I knew it was too big a job for me to do on my own.
You thought it was too big a job for you to do on your own?
It was too big a job for me to do on my own.
Desperate to get in before Christmas, they continued to renovate the inside of the property for another 3 months. Woo-hoo! And Rebecca even installed her new £3,000 stove. Then the roofers arrived.
This as much crap in there now as there was when we came to this place.
Months of work was now buried under rubble.
What is all this? So mess is not a problem. A problem is floor smashed. You know, that's a problem. And I would have expected you to have managed that.
I can't say don't knock that brick out.
Chris, you're an adult.
I didn't know they were doing it until they'd done it.
Chris, you're in charge when I'm not here. Rose! Be quiet! It made me angry because any hopes we'd had of getting in comfortably for Christmas were out the window. I mean, we didn't even contemplate it till the new year, really.
So would the one golden rule be roof first?
If, like Chris and Rebecca, you want to renovate a barn or farm, commission a full structural survey so you know what needs doing and draw up a timetable that carefully calculates the correct sequence of work, getting the right job done at the right time. Not only do you have to cope with the build, you also face the challenge of working with the ones you love.
I'm really nervous because I can see that the roof is attached to the wall.
Structural engineer said it's fine. You know better than them.
I don't, but I'm just nervous. I can't help being nervous.
Then go somewhere else.
A renovation project of any size can cause a great deal of stress. This is largely because for a short period of time, two people are going to be working incredibly intensively together. Using their free time, which would have been previously used for leisure pursuits, is now entirely devoted towards a project. Some people respond really well to this, others find that the stress just gets too much for them.
Agent, what ones did you set
Can you come
up?
and help me find it, Denise, you think, rather than just being rude to me?
I haven't been rude to you at all.
You
Have
are,
I
you
been
said it in the
rude?
green. Chris said it's in the greens. We haven't got them on reels, they're not on reels. What is that?
I'm just telling you that we've got two in the greenhouse. I thought that's what you were
but
referring
I said
to.
I wanted the ones on the reel. Most importantly, amongst anything else, if there's two of you, one of you has to make decisions. Because when you don't agree on things, World War III breaks out. Shortest route is as the crow flies, straight lines.
It does not reach. Let go of it.
Well, I can't bear this. Working with Denise is just a nightmare. You don't necessarily appreciate the time, but it's stressful times like that that you want to spend with people that are close, close to you.
Exactly. Because you'd fall out if it was your friend or something. You'd just fall out. You wouldn't speak to them again. That'd be it.
Any couple that are prepared to do something like this, the woman must be prepared to be shouted from her job, because hers isn't as important, because you get, Lorraine, I want you. And I'd have to climb all the way down from the roof, all the way down the side, all the way, just to hold something like this. I think, oh.
Well, my job's way more important, you see.
You big wild child.
Your woman needs to be a bloke.
Yeah.
Inside, really.
He said this so many times.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, you
I
need
must remind myself my wife is not a man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you don't want somebody there who's going to toss around doing the fingernails, do you? You've got to get involved in the project.
Beautiful.
Before moving to Norfolk, the couple rarely spent time together as Steve worked a 60-hour week as a tiler and fireman. Now they were working side by side, 18 hours a day.
Just having him there next to me and sitting on the floor in the soil and eating our butties together and, pouring the drinks out of flasks or whatever. It was just, because we were together, it just was great, because we both got, the same vision.
We want to be together.
That's how it felt. We want to be together.
The do's and don'ts of working with your partner. Do understand which strengths you have and which strengths your partner has. Do communicate. Don't be dictatorial, and don't try and impose your requirements on your partner, because it is a joint project and you've both got to own it and you've both got to love it.
Once you've decided to do a renovation, you need to consider where to stay during the build. Many of our families chose to live in a caravan on site to both save money and project manage the work day to day. But not all caravans are fit for living in, as Chris, Rebecca and their daughter Demelza discovered to their cost.
We chose to live in a caravan because we knew we had a very small budget. We knew we couldn't afford a static caravan, which would be the natural other choice. There was no way we could have considered renting a property on our budget to live in. And also the focus, the necessity to get the house done when we were living in a 16-foot caravan was a fabulous driver for all of us.
But not everybody felt motivated.
Cold here. Very muddy. I'm getting cross with the mud now.
We had a very, very small area for the three of us, plus three cats and a dog.
And the rain dripping on the roof.
Yeah.
That was annoying.
Yeah. Oh, I'd forgotten that.
Oh, it's just getting damp. I mean, these sort of caravans are not designed for living in winter months. It's just getting silly, really, absolutely silly. I mean, we must have been a bit crazy to ever think that we could live in a caravan over winter months. This is ridiculous.
Your hands are really cold. You've not been wearing your mittens, have you? You don't seem yourself. What's the matter?
Rebecca's mother and sister, hearing alarming reports of the family's living conditions, swiftly arrived on the scene.
You can't have a child in a cold bit like this all the winter, you know. She'll have cold after cold. You do need to have one room warm, and I don't give a damn what it looks like. It doesn't matter, as long as it's warm and dry, and it's no worse than here.
Children are very much more resilient than we think, and though they might physically struggle at that point, they will soon get over it, and that's exactly what she did.
Rebecca and Chris pressed on,
Let go!
making safe the property and establishing a few key rooms.
Yes.
After a year living in the caravan, the family had a proper roof over their heads, and Demelza had a new bedroom of her own.
There is some merit in the idea of getting a room finished, or their room or a room, but just somewhere that they can have some sort of normality.
To avoid accommodation problems like Chris and Rebecca's, buy or rent a static caravan rather than a touring variety. Static caravans will give you the facilities and space you need for long-term living. Make sure your caravan is suitable for the winter months. It should be well insulated, rainproof and meet safety regulations. If in doubt, contact the National Caravan Council. If you think you can cope with caravan life, this derelict farm in Pembrokeshire might be the conversion for you. There are small barns on offer for as little as £150,000. And for the more experienced builder, the 18th century farmhouse is on the market at £450,000. It sits in parkland overlooked by the Preseli Hills and is close to the Pembrokeshire coast. But if you want to move straight in, the Great Barn is now for sale in Hertfordshire. It's a fantastic example of a Grade 2 listed barn converted into a stunning 21st century home. But it does come at a price, £3.75 million. Coming up, dealing with the cost of converting.
The barn virtually stopped and we're just doing things that just cost no money.
And saving your project if you take on more than you can handle.
We were so engrossed in the renovations, we didn't have any time to think about the restaurant and how it was going to open.
Tonight, we look at the highs and lows of renovating old barns and farms in rural locations, with advice from experts in the field and interviews from families who've successfully built a new life in the country. To renovate an agricultural building without running out of money, you need a realistic budget and a fallback plan in case you overspend.
Renovations are notoriously difficult to get costed properly right at the outset. So you've got to set a budget right at the beginning, one that you feel comfortable with and one that you're not going to deviate from. And have a contingency built in, because that means that you'll keep on track.
A principle Andrew and Anona Thomas thought they'd adopted when they renovated a series of barns in Wales 3 years ago.
We have got a budget. We're pretty much sure that
it's a realistic
budget, and we'll come in there.
Do you want to tell me what it is? I'll let you know if it's realistic or not.
Well, we've budgeted 100,000 for the cottages,
right,
and about 60 to 70,000 for the stable. So that's what we're looking at roughly.
It's not bad. It's just there's that awful unknown about old buildings.
Yeah.
What are you going to find as you're going through it? How much is this building going to crumble away? What are the unknowns?
We've stripped it back to its bare bones. I think any nightmares should have emerged by now.
But the workmen weren't convinced and couldn't give them a fixed price for the job.
Tony, how are you, mate?
Good morning to you.
Mr. Builder.
Mr. Builder, yes.
So you're responsible for looking after these plans and building this building up?
I sincerely hope so.
The scary thing for a client is they don't know how much it's going to cost them at the end.
That's very true. It's going to cost them what it's going to cost them. You can't fix price it. Well, I could, but I mean, within the first week, I'm sure I would have found something I could have said was an extra. Once you delve into these old buildings, they can fill you full of surprises every day. Touch one stone and half a wall can be down.
Really?
Where possible, try to get a fixed price for your build. Without it, Andrew and Anona had no idea how much money they were going to have to spend.
You can't put a time limit on how long the job's going to take with these jobs, because they're so fiddly, like, you know.
We didn't expect to pay two guys a daily wage for the best part of 9 months to do stonework, pointing, openings and things like that. And that, I think, ate into a huge part of our budget, and it just wasn't expected.
A lot of people choose to employ subcontractors on day rates, which is dangerous. And it's dangerous because there's no ownership by the subcontractor of completing the works in a certain period of time, and the client hasn't been able to budget for what's necessary.
Andrew and Anona's build was finished to an excellent standard, but they had to take out a number of loans to pay for it.
If we knocked everything down and rebuilt them, it would have probably been a lot cheaper than it was to convert. But you don't get the character, and you probably won't get the planning anyway. So, you know, you've just got to pay the extra money to do the buildings justice.
What was the final bill to get the 2 holiday cottages and the house completely done?
We're probably looking around the 260 mark, about 260,000.
260,000. But that's £100,000 more than you wanted to spend.
It is, but we've got 2 fantastic cottages and our dream home.
Yeah.
And we've got all that for £80,000 worth of debt.
Andrew and Anona failed to set a realistic budget, but they did have a contingency plan waiting in the wings. They both had kept their full-time jobs, Andrew in the police service and Anona as a children's centre manager, enabling them to take the overspend as a mortgage, which as a working couple they could afford.
Financially, for us having our full-time jobs was really, really important, because our wages went into the build as well.
I would say with the budget, definitely double it, and then take a little bit off, and you won't be far off. You'd be very, very safe then, because it costs a lot more than you think it's going to.
But sometimes nothing can prepare you for the costs of building a new life, as Dave and Rebecca Palfrey found out when they moved from the Midlands to rural Wales. Architect George Clark came to see how they were getting on.
So the crunch for me is, because it looks like there's a lot of work in there, as well as out here, is the budget. So when you sold your place in Birmingham, how much money did you take away with you?
We walked away 36,000, didn't we?
How much have you got left?
No.
I don't know.
I'd say about 12,000.
I just don't know.
Kidding? Are you winding me up?
No.
You've got 12 grand? To finish that barn, 12 grand.
We knew that was nowhere near enough. We were a little bit naive in that we thought we could probably do enough to live in here, not realising how strict building regulations are and that we couldn't live in here without it being virtually finished.
After 3 months, the £12,000 was gone. With Dave on a career break and only Rebecca's part-time wage coming in, they were unable to buy any materials and the build came to a standstill.
The barn's not progressing, it's virtually stopped, and we're just doing things like this, really, sorting the garden out, things that just cost no money.
It's so important to set a realistic budget, because if you run out of money and you've got no access to additional funds and your only recourse is to sell the property, selling a property which is only partly finished is not going to recoup your investment.
But a glimmer of hope emerged when Dave realised the land he'd cleared could be sold as a plot. Facing bankruptcy and the loss of their barn, they quickly called an estate agent to get the land valued.
Hello, Philip.
Hello, David. How are you again?
Not too bad. How are you? You all right?
Not too bad, thanks.
Nice to meet you. Good.
Nice to see you again.
What do you think?
Value-wise, I mean, you know yourself, the plots aren't, they're few and far between. So I think realistically, you could be looking at anywhere from 90 to 110.
Blimey, that's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's great. Thanks for that. You cheered me up.
Pleasure. Pleasure.
I can't believe he said 90 to 110. Just completely shocked me. I'm gobsmacked. And what was it, 10 months ago we bought the barn with a 100,000 mortgage and the plot could pay that off, in theory. I mean, if we got £100,000, completely transform our existence. I don't get it. It's amazing.
Today, the couple have a permanent reminder at the bottom of the garden of how close they came to losing their barn.
This is what we've got now. It's our new neighbours, a 4-bedroom house. It seems almost like fate that it came up and enabled us to continue. So, quite miraculous, really.
But relying on miracles to save the day isn't something Dave would do again.
Now, if I did it again, I'd be a lot more of a spreadsheet person and map it all out. Because even in paradise, if you've got no money and you are stressed out about money, it can make it like hell, can't it?
To avoid the financial pitfalls which our families faced, do your homework on the costs involved and set a realistic budget. Create a contingency plan. Can your income cover additional costs? Take on extra loans, or like Dave and Rebecca, do you have an asset to sell? Remember, most barns won't have basic services such as electricity, gas and water, which are expensive to connect. As well as being realistic about costs, you also need to be realistic about your plans for a new life. Renovating will take all your time and energy, leaving little room for new ventures, something Adrian and Denise learned when they converted a barn, set up a chili farm and opened a Mexican restaurant, doing almost all the work themselves.
We might find we're the only idiots that like chilies. We were so engrossed in the building, the renovations, weren't we? We didn't have any time to think about the restaurant and how that was going to run and how it was going to open.
The plan was to generate an income by transforming their barn into a restaurant. But when the build fell behind schedule, so too did their chances of earning some much-needed cash.
Now, you set yourself this deadline of finishing the barn in 9 weeks. Now, I don't think you're going to do it.
Oh, God.
The only way that you're going to meet that 9-week deadline is to get some help, and I know it's hard to find people, but can you not just get 2 or 3 guys who might not be experienced builders, but just labourers, cheap?
Yeah.
People just to lift things, move things, put things in place, strip things, paint things, sand things.
No,
basically I need to get a plumber to plumb the toilets in.
Realising they couldn't do everything themselves, Adrian and Denise hired all the professional help they could get.
We're here just for the week, just to get the place plasterboarded for them, ready for the plasterers.
As long as they don't put the floor on.
It's a bit tight, to say the least.
Here is our diary of our opening night. We've already got 2 bookings. I have taken their telephone numbers just in case we need to call them and say, bring your umbrella, because we've got no windows. And bring a porta potty, because the toilets aren't finished.
I think it was about, I don't know, 6 or 7 minutes before the first customer turned up that we were actually ready. T-minus 1 hour clean.
How are you? Are you okay?
Table 9 for 2. Absolutely fine. It'll be fine. Told you all along, didn't I? It'll be fine. And it was. There you go. You need to know what your limitations are, because, you know, it's all well and good thinking that you can do all these jobs, but if you haven't got the time, then, you know, there's no point. You need to come up with a balance, I suppose, between, you know, what you can achieve and what it's more effective to get someone else to do for you.
Chris and Rebecca Palmer also took on too much when they moved to Ireland to convert a farmhouse and at the same time set up a small holding with no previous experience.
So what is the dream for you two?
The dream is living here in the countryside, being completely self-sufficient, spending more time together, seeing more of Demelza.
But with no background in farming, producing all their own food was a steep learning curve.
5 geese. You're going to grow nice and big and fat and yummy for Christmas.
Grab the bird by its legs with both hands. Keep the back of the bird away from you. Lower the head to the ground and pull the legs upwards until you feel the neck break.
No, they're too nice and I love them.
We don't want to hurt the thing or make it, injure it. We want to either kill it or not kill it.
Converting the farmhouse meant there was little time to work the land.
So how's the polytunnel then? How's it going?
Well, it's going quite slowly.
A bit more than slowly.
Well, the holes are dug. The holes took...
I thought the idea of a polytunnel was that you had a sort of tunnel made out of poly.
Yeah.
But I don't see any of that here. I just see a few bits of post in the ground and a few rows of string. That's it.
I would say that, trying to tackle a project like putting up a polytunnel and setting up a self-sufficient smallholding was not something that went hand in hand with building a house. You just cannot do 2 such major things at the same time.
It's a little bit of a worry, isn't it? Because this really is the big part of the dream for you.
Rome wasn't built in a day, as they say.
Rome definitely wasn't built in a day. I just hope you do it in my lifetime.
Oh, we will. We will.
Renovating a property with no previous building experience and smallholding with no experience, combine the 2 together, it's a nightmare. You really need to sort your property out first.
Since moving into the farmhouse, Chris and Rebecca have gone from naive newcomers
Rose, let go of the bloody chicken.
to accomplished small-scale farmers.
This one's called Christmas dinner. That one's Easter Sunday dinner. Demelza's birthday.
Working out what we're going to need for 12 months is quite an art, because if you asked anybody how many carrots and potatoes they buy in the supermarket in a year, they haven't got a clue. I wouldn't have had a clue. And it's been trial and error sort of working it out, hasn't it?
Today, however, they are not completely self-sufficient. Their 1.7-acre plot hasn't proved to be big enough to provide all their own produce.
You probably need about 5 acres to support a family of our size, to grow the animal feed as well, and obviously his own vegetables.
But producing the majority of their food themselves has brought them a real sense of achievement.
There's a tremendous amount of satisfaction when you bring in your own vegetables from down in the garden or the polytunnel, rather than going to the supermarket and picking it off the shelf. You know that you've planted it from a seed, brought it on, and you just bring it in. I personally find that wonderful. We have been good girls. All on form today.
This is my breakfast.
I love food. I am capable of eating vast quantities of food, but I like it to be of a good quality, and I resent producers putting stuff into my food because it suits them, because it makes it last longer or sells better or sits on a shelf.
However passionate you are about going self-sufficient, you must be careful not to overstretch yourself, both financially and physically. It's very hard work, it'll take up a lot of your time and to start with, quite a lot of your money as well to get set up.
If, like some of our families, you want to combine a business and a dream home in the country, this farmhouse in Wales could be just perfect. The farmhouse could be a 5-bedroom home, while the old mill house and 2 barns could be transformed into a series of unique holiday lets. The entire 10-acre site is on offer at £350,000. Or if you want a live-work space that's ready to go, Huckenden Farm in Buckinghamshire might be for you. The 16th century Grade 2 listed farmhouse is a family home, while this magnificent barn with vaulted ceilings and galleried bedrooms has been used as a successful recording studio. It's on the market for £2.75 million. Coming up, what you can do to help children adapt to their new homes.
I just want you to play with me!
And the rewards for building a new life in the country.
If we hadn't have done this, then I'd have missed my wife.
Lion.
Tonight, we're showing you how to build a new life in the country. We're hearing from families with first-hand experience and bringing you expert tips on how to convert barns and farms into your dream home. As many of our parents discovered, relocating can be challenging for children who lose their home, their school and friends.
Can you please play with me?
I can't, I've got to get on. We want to move in the house, don't you?
I just want you to play with me.
Don't get stroppy. We've got to do the house. I think it's a battle of wills for Demelza to settle, you know. She's determined she isn't going to settle. We're determined she is. Eventually someone will win. All right, all right.
It affected me more than you, didn't it? You were quite strong with it, or were you hiding that fact? I felt sorry for Demelza. Until she settled, I wasn't really settled. Bye. Oh, I'm gonna miss you. When Demelza actually came home from school and she said, I like it at school now, that was a big step, really, to put us thinking, oh, we have done the right thing, because Demelza was happy then.
Like Demelza's parents, Dave and Rebecca were also worried about their children when they moved to Wales and did everything they could to make them feel secure.
When we moved down here, obviously we had to limit the amount of stuff we could bring with us because we were moving into a caravan, and I think we prioritised bringing things that were important to the children. So we had a lot of their toys around, and all the storage areas under the caravan seats were filled with toys.
They also enrolled them at the local school and took them to community events to help them integrate.
We wanted to move to a small village because we wanted to move somewhere where we'd know all the people that lived within our community, and we've definitely got that here. We're getting to know a lot of the people, and we didn't have much of that where we were. We knew our immediate neighbours, but nobody else really.
3 years on, their children and their new friends enjoy all the benefits of the completed barn and its garden.
Who's coming down there?
Where we used to live, our garden was about the same as this.
Yeah, you couldn't get this in our
frame.
garden.
And so we didn't really have much of a garden. We had a
the
lawn,
slide would be in the
we?
road, wouldn't it? It's great to sort of get them out playing all together with their friends. It's just it's what we dreamed it would be, really.
Ellie and Thomas now speak fluent Welsh.
Welsh is the first language of the school, so when they go to school they're always speaking Welsh, so you do tend to, if you listen to them, hear them speaking, well, they mix the two, but you hear them speaking quite a bit of Welsh.
The best thing is that the kids have had a great start, you know, and that means everything to me, really.
They've got virtually perfect childhood, really.
With all the highs and lows, the final and most important thing you need is dedication to get the renovation finished.
You need passion, you need enthusiasm, and you need drive, because your life is going to be put temporarily on hold while you undertake a project like this.
You've got to be focused on the end goal. You've got to be almost single-minded in as much as that you know what you want to achieve, and you've literally got to drive every day to get to that goal.
Building a new life in the country may be the hardest thing you'll ever do, but the rewards are great. More time with your partner, more time with the family, and a dream home you never thought you could afford.
A couple of years down the road, if we'd have pulled up outside and looked at this place, there's no way on this earth that we could have afforded a place like this. We've only got this through the blood and guts that we've put into it.
Our families changed their lives forever, like Adrian, who gave up working abroad Monday to Friday.
If we hadn't have done this, then, you know, I'd have still been away. I would have, you know, missed the children growing up. You know, I'd have missed family life. You know, I'd have missed my wife.
Lying.
times when we wanted to do this because maybe we were a bit too close at times, but it was great, wasn't it, to throw around ideas and work together and go through the struggle together.
It's been very stressful, very challenging, but at the end of the day, it's brought a new life to mine and Lorraine's relationship, and I'm glad that, you know, we've done it.
And some would even do it again.
We both do talk about doing up another old house, but not necessarily living in it. We'd quite like to do it as an investment, or just to do it because we really, really enjoyed doing the house. But Demelza would have a fit.
When my mum and dad spot farmhouses and they think, oh, I'm going to do that up, I'm like,
next time,
you have to be absolutely barking to take on something like this.
Building a new life in the country by converting historic or unusual properties.
There were times that we had water just pouring through the building and we were unable to do anything to stop it.
If you'd like to take part in the next series of Build a New Life in the Country, then contact us at 5.tv/want-to-be-on-TV or ring 0870 086 1126.
nah.